Welcome to the Additive Report Advisor, a webcast series intended for fabrication and machine shops on the topic of additive manufacturing. Our guest today is Michael Celardo, or Mike, who's with Cumberland Additive. He serves as Vice President of Engineering and Business Development. Now, Cumberland Additive is out of Texas, and they're an operation that offers engineering services and turnkey production using powder bed fusion technology, both in metal and advanced polymers. Now, this webcast series, Additive Report Advisor, is all about connecting the dots. It's to cut through the hype and some mistruths to set your expectations properly so that you can plan and execute with eyes wide open in additive manufacturing so that you can succeed. I'm Todd Grimm, I'm your host. I've got 30 years of experience in additive manufacturing, and I'm going to use that experience to dig out the details, the insights, the information that I believe that you need to make good decisions. To achieve the program's goals, the Additive Report Advisor relies on the support of sponsors. Now, these are companies that believe that spreading the truth, no matter what those truths may be, is the best way to advance the additive manufacturing industry. And we found one such company for this episode, SLM Solutions. It's a world leader in metal-based metal additive manufacturing and also one of the inventors of selective laser melting technology. SLM Solutions focuses on the development, manufacturing, and distribution of production-oriented metal additive manufacturing machines. Now, these robust machines that it offers optimize fast, reliable, and cost-efficient part production. So if you're looking to implement in-house, I suggest you take a look at SLM's portfolio. However, if you'd prefer to work through a certified partner, SLM Solutions is happy to make those introductions. Once again, thank you very much for your support, SLM Solutions. As I've said, our guest is Mike Celardo, and I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts because he's got an engineering background mixed with experience in quality assurance, project management, and program management. In his VP of Engineering and Business Development role at Cumberland, he leverages his experience as program manager for commercial aerospace serial production to lead the engineering team at Cumberland Additive in successful project execution. Mike also facilitates direct technical partnerships with customers to accelerate the successful transition of components to additive manufacturing. His previous career experience includes management of large multi-million dollar fabrication projects for offshore oil and gas with Arconic, as well as leading program quality engineering for high volume production of tactical wheeled vehicles with BAE Systems. He's got a BS in mechanical engineering from University of Texas at Austin, picked up a master's. I shouldn't say that. He earned a master's at the University of Houston. And he also has a PMP certification. That's Project Management Professional from the Project Management Institute. Mike, welcome to the Additive Report Advisor.
Very happy to be here, Todd. Thank you.
Well, let's see. After the questions I ask you in the conversation we have, we'll see if you're still happy to be a part of this. But we are happy to have you here. Mike, so people have an understanding of your background, so where you're coming from with your answers. Can you explain a little bit about Cumberland Additive so they also have an appreciation for the context that your answers come from on the business side of things?
Absolutely. So Cumberland Additive is a relatively new name in the marketplace. We've been in existence about 2 years now, and this is a privately held organization. But the history of this site goes back 13, 14, 15 years. So the physical production site that I'm sitting at today started out as directed manufacturing. It was then acquired by a company called RTI International Metals, became RTI Directed Manufacturing. And then it also changed hands a couple more times with the overall business name changes to Alcoa, then Arconic, and then was eventually bought by Cumberland Additive as a private entity.
What okay. And also what's I gave a real light biographical on Cumberland Additive. What services do you provide? Who are you targeting? What differentiates you? That sort of thing.
Sure. So we essentially offer turnkey services in additive. We can't insource everything because we can't fit everything under one roof. But we have an established supply chain if we can't do it in-house. So not only do we do production, and that could be everything from rapid prototyping all the way to high volume production, but we also offer engineering expertise. That could be design for additive manufacturing. It could be collaboration on part design, material selection, anything along those lines. And the most success we've found is early engagement with customers who are either looking to get into additive or have an existing portfolio of products they want to convert, because we're able to leverage our expertise in additive to help guide their decision making process.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Uh, I I wanna pick up on that history of directed to RTI to Alcoa
Sure.
to Arconic and then to Cumberland. That could be interpreted as a bad penny being passed around. I know that's not the truth, but with all these business transactions, or these acquisitions, uh, why did they transpire in general, if you have a common theme? And more importantly, are there any lessons learned from that history that a job shop could or should consider?
Absolutely. So this facility started as a small manufacturing facility with one machine, right? And built up to something that at a corporate level, other larger corporations became interested in because of the success. And so it was eventually transitioned to much larger corporations. We're talking billion-dollar corporations that were managing this as a small satellite company. And then eventually, because of the difficulties of that and of managing one small location in a large portfolio as a business, it eventually transferred back to a privately held company. Now, I think there can be success either way, but the benefit for us is we started off as a small business, grew organically, got to have some of the structure and development and R&D funding from larger corporations, and now we've settled back to a privately held organization where we're insanely nimble, we're very customer oriented. We've taken all those lessons learned from over a decade worth of development and able to apply them now.
Excellent. Well, back in the time when RTI purchased directed manufacturing, we were very much in a hype bubble, and the valuations of companies was just insane. So, with that line of thinking, is there any truth to all these in any or all these transactions that companies perceive that additive was an easy business, path to riches, hang the shingle out, turn the machines on, and boom, you're making money? What but that comes across as negative, but instead realizing that additive is just business and it can be a hard business. Is there any of that there that they discovered that, you know what, it may not be wise to pump our resources into this small business to grow it out to what it could be in the future?
Exactly. I think there is still sort of a misconception that it's sort of like it's a microwave. You put something in, you push a button, and you're going to get out a product. In some cases, it is that way. It's definitely not that easy, but it's definitely not too hard for a newcomer to get into. It's just one of those things you have to have a firm strategy about and a business plan before you get into. Of course, it's going to take capital to get into, but if you're methodical about planning your industry that you're targeting, your customer you're targeting, materials, the machine type. You lay all this out before you get there, you'll save yourself a ton of heartache, and there's still plenty of room in the industry for sure.
So you're suggesting a lot of front end work to really understand what it is you're going to do, for whom, what value you're going to deliver, all to make sure that you have a service that people want, but also that you can differentiate it. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you put the cart before the horse and you say, I'm interested in X machine because I've seen advertising on it, or I talked to a salesperson at a trade show and I just like the way the machine works and the architecture of it. Then you have to back into what industries can I serve? Are there customers that are looking for that? What are the qualification costs and all that? And so you end up reversing course a bit. You have to make negative progress to then move forward. So the best strategy is to understand maybe where you have a past history in a certain industry and you have networking effects, or you have a technical expertise there. There could be a pivot from whatever you're doing currently into additive while retaining the same customer base, or at least the same industry knowledge you already have. And then once you've selected a customer base or an industry, you can decide upon materials, and all of those things guide to machine selection, in my opinion. And there's a plethora of machines available, and you could select the tier of machine, maybe the supplier that is offering the best services along with that as well.
Right. So you haven't said it, but I'm assuming that additive is fiercely competitive right now. And let me ask the question in two ways. So, first off, it's my understanding early days, a big focus on aerospace. So, A, do you still have this wholehearted focus on aerospace? And then B, why or why not? in the context of the competitive landscape?
Absolutely. So aerospace initially was very hot. Everybody wanted a piece of that pie. I think everybody is still very interested in it, although aerospace qualification is probably one of the highest tiers and difficulty levels that you could get into. So if you go from nothing, small company you're trying to build, into aerospace, there's many, many hurdles and a lot of difficulties to overcome just because it's a challenging industrial environment. We're definitely still in aerospace. We've done qualification for many multiple commercial aerospace products in different materials. And so we have retained that expertise and continue to grow it. It has become a smaller portion of our portfolio because there's other industries that have more widely adopted additive quicker. The qualification requirements are less or easier, and there's just more work to be had out there. So we've branched out to kind of become more diversified. But aerospace is definitely still in the mix.
All right, let's put you to the test and see how willing you to share are. What are those industries that are quicker to adopt that you can get projects today versus waiting for qualification to take 2 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't answer that. Industrial applications, so this could be power turbines, power plant, anything within that mix. Space applications, which is kind of interesting because it's still aerospace space, sort of in the same general genre, but the requirements are different, especially for unmanned space flight.
Yeah.
Oil and gas and energy in general. There's a different methodology there, and I think that industry is sort of developing their own criteria and specifications for their application because they have this very well established, but although dated system of material selection, design requirements, and everything like that. They're transitioning, but it is still a very rapidly growing industry. And then just consumer products, commercial products, that sort of thing.
What's the best kind of target prospect or client? A company that is convinced they need to get into additive and are looking for resources and assistance, or a company that a job shop would knock on the door and say, "Hey, we've been working together for 15 years. I've been doing 3, 4, 5-axis milling for you. I've got additive now. Let me convince you that there's additive opportunities or show you the way." What do you think the path of least resistance is? Going after someone that's already shown the appetite to get into additive? Or also the third one would be someone that is already in additive and looking for additional uh, suppliers, or someone that you convert into an additive open mind.
Yeah. So the path of least resistance for sure is somebody you already have an existing relationship with, because the transition to additive or the adoption of it requires a lot of buy-in from whatever organization it may be. So if you're targeting a customer and you have a good reputation of being a good supplier to them, that is a way bigger advantage than any other thing you could have. Even just having a good reputation in the industry, you're not going to have customers seeking you out for the most part. This is an industry that, like you mentioned, is very competitive. You have to make the initiation and you have to bring something to the table. Is it a past history of success? Is it a technical know-how that someone else doesn't have? Is it a patent? Whatever it may be, there has to be a differentiator there. So that's definitely the easiest path.
Excellent. Thank you. Uh, we're- I think the bulk of our conversation is going to be for the balance on metal additive manufacturing, but I don't want to ignore polymer. So you've got powder bed fusion. Specifically, I believe you have EOS equipment running laser sintering for polymers. Uh, is that just a legacy that sits there and these machines rarely get used, or are they still a vital part of your service offering? And what I'm getting at is, really, should job shops be open-minded and look at both a polymer solution and a metal solution, and then make the choice of which one is the best place to start?
Yeah, for us, plastics was the foundation of this company, and it's still a huge part of our revenue portfolio today, huge part of the customer base. We have specific customers that only buy plastics. We have customers that buy plastics and metals from us. And for the most part, it could be its own standalone business. So for a job shop or a smaller company that's just starting up, you could consider that as an option. You could have just a metals business, just plastics, or share both. And there's still plenty of market share available, still product development. Customers are still actively buying parts and plastics. And we're doing SLS specifically. So typically nylons, 11s, 12s, and filled versions. And there's still a ton of demand in that. I mean, you could
Is that
also consider SLA, FDM, any of the others are still very popular.
does it tend to fall in more of a prototyping category, or Is it also production work or even consumables for the job shop, such as fixtures, end effectors for robots? Uh, I I guess the real question is, does a non-metal additive solution also have viability as a solution in a production environment?
For sure. I'd say 90% of what we do in plastics is production work. It's going to be used somewhere in the field on whatever the applications, and typically in volume, some volume. This could be tens, hundreds, thousands. We also, though, still use plastics for rapid prototyping. It's very good for that because we could have a plastic printout in 2 days that'll give us some idea of dimensional control for the end metal product, or it could be tooling, like you mentioned. We do tooling for our CMM so that we can fixture the metal parts for inspection. So it's extremely versatile and very helpful.
Excellent. So, message to the job shops out there, keep your eyes wide open and don't focus solely on one or the other. Be open-minded at least until you get to the point of making a decision. So, we've covered, the business side of additive. Now I want to go one level deeper and look at technology evaluation or determining what would be best for you.